Welcome to this session. And I think most of us have already joined by now. And we also have Pushpak Tejas with us. So I will be telling you about him also. But before we actually begin, I just want to quickly, tell you about what the session is going to be about and what we'll be discussing today. And I think a lot of you have, been interested in moving into a role of a product manager, right? And of course, Masters Union has just recently announced its MasterCamp in product management, which is basically a part of the PGP TBM program, which we're offering now as a separate course as well. For those of you who know about the postgraduate program in technology business management, so it's a 16-month program, which is, a collection of 40 courses within it. And now, because that's a full-time course, there are a lot of working professionals who are not able to basically give out their times or leave their jobs to take up a course, right? And therefore what Masters Union decided is that for those individuals we have now created the same program wherein the product management is a part of the TBM course, which you can now also take in the online format. Okay, so today we'll be discussing about that program also, but moreover, today we have Pushpak with us, who actually is also part of the first cohort of Masters Union. And welcome to you, Pushpak, and nice seeing you well. Now, Pushpak has been working as the product manager now, and in fact, his past experience also has been as a product manager with Cisco as well. Currently, he's working with MoEngage, if I talk about his academic background, he's actually done his B.Tech in computer science, from the Georgia Institute of Technology, and before that, he also has done his bachelor's from BITS Pilani, and after that he also took the PGP TBM with Masters Union, and that's I think how he started his career as a product manager, right? So I think we will allow Pushpak to speak now, and if you guys have any questions in between, you should put it on the Q&A section. We will definitely address to most of them towards the end of the session as well. Okay, so over to you, Pushpak.
Thank you for the introduction, Saros. I see a lot of people joining from different parts of the country. So great to be speaking with all of you. All right. So today we'll talk about breaking into product management. And like Saros has been saying, I have been a product manager for about 2 years now. And I have worked with companies like Cisco and currently MoEngage. And in the past, as a software developer with this company called Origo Software. All right. So with that background, let me share my screen. Yeah, before I talk about how to break into product management, I want to just touch base a little bit on what the role entails. There has been a lot of buzz around product management of late. It's good to see that, but with that, we are also seeing a lot of different definitions floating around. A lot of correct and say not so correct things that are being circulated on the internet about the role. So I thought, let me give you a brief introduction on what product management is, right? So this is one of the most common Venn diagrams you will see when you talk about product management. You as a product manager are at the center of the user, which is user research, UX, UI, design, all of it. That's one side of things. Then there is the technology, software, engineering. That's one wing. And then one of the most important elements, which is the business side of things, right? What are the business goals of the company? And that's again very important part, which is where MBA sort of things will really help. So a lot of times people ask, is tech itself is sufficient to be a product manager? The answer is no. You need tech skills, and I'll talk about what kind of skills they are. You need business skills, and you need certain design and user sense. Okay, so that is what product management in one broad diagram about. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more on what these things are. So this is another diagram that I personally love about what product management is, right? So there are two angles to it. The left side is external and the right side is internal, which is external to business and internal to business or company. And the top-down product management in this scale, in the most external end, external of the business, you have your users, you have the market, and in between you have the core product. Then you have internal to us, which is a business and technical side of things, right? So you can see these buzzwords making sense on this diagram here. So at the user end, you have segments, personas, who are the users that your product is really helping. And in the market end, what is the position of the market? Who is the competitors out there? And I mean, that's the strategic end of things. Again, in tactics, you kind of try to see A/B test and what is the optimum conversion parameters out there for users, what are the wireframes, what are the user requests. So I think with this, you broadly see all the things that are talked about product management and where it falls. Of course, not every product manager works on every single thing, but at different parts of the company. I mean, say, for example, if you are developing a strategy, you'll probably look at the top side of the pyramid. And if you are developing, say, executing things, then you are talking with engineers, you are talking with users. So depending on that, you take a different hat. And that's the most exciting thing to me about product management, right? One day you are, say, in a strategic meeting with the founders, or depending upon the executives of the company, and you're building a business case, you're making a build versus buy decision, you're talking about product vision. And the other, in the same day, in another meeting, you are with engineers figuring out what that single bug or that query which is actually breaking the release. So it's a very dynamic role. You have to play different roles at different point of time. And as you can see, you are involving a lot of stakeholders, business stakeholders, technical stakeholders, users, etc. So that's the dynamic part of the role. Now let me go to the next step. So you might ask me, okay, Pushpak, you're telling me that a product manager wears different hats at different points of time. Now, what is the most important thing? How much time do you spend on each of these tasks? So this diagram kind of mentions it. Again, you have a different role to play depending upon you are an APM, you are starting your career, or you are like a chief product officer or a VP of product. You spend different times on different bits. Just to give you an example, as an APM or an early stage product manager, you spend a lot of time on the execution side of things, which is the tactical elements here. And as you move up the ladder, you start spending more time on the strategic side of things. All right. So here, like you see, about if on a 100% scale, you are spending, say, 18% of time on defining product strategy, roadmap, vision, etc. 12% of time on engaging with customers and partners. And the other important things are, say, collaborating with technical and design functions. Very important. That's about 15% of time needs to be technically sound. And that is this 15% of time. If you are not, you might have to spend a lot more time there. That's the reason. Now, defining product requirements, writing PRDs, wireframes, etc. That's about 14%. And then collaborating with other functions. That's marketing and sales, and it's throughout the business roles. So these are the top functions. And then there are slightly lesser times in pricing, competitive research, metrics review, etc. Again, it depends a lot on what type of brand you are. Are you a challenger brand? Are you are you already a market leader? So if you're already market leader, probably you'll spend less time on competition and more time on, say, strategy and user side of things, right? So this is broadly what a product manager does. I know I spoke the breadth of things because that's product manager, right? It's not a very functional independent role. It's mixed up with a lot of roles, and you play different parts at each point of time. Now, just to give you a sense of why like product management is interesting and what are the career prospects, this is from Glassdoor snippet. I think I've taken it about a few months back now, not say very old, but not like the latest right now. You can actually check it. So it's a very good role out there with, say, average salary of 17 lakhs, and you can see the spectrum, right? Like 10 percentile is in about 7 lakhs, and 90 percentile is about 30 lakhs. So that's a pretty good, and this is usually the base range that is quoted on Glassdoor. That makes it the hot career right now. And you can see actually in the emailers and brochures about how Masters Union average is faring compared to this, right? And it's pretty good. All right. So I talked about the role. I gave you a gist of what are the tasks a product manager does and what's the career outlook out there. Now, okay, I want to be a product manager, let's say. What do companies look for? And this is Very important to understand, because when you prepare for interviews or when you want to crack that first role, it's people tend to do a lot of things because they're not very sure what interviewers look for. And every different blog says a different things. So this is primarily from my own experiences, depending on all the interviews that I've given. Yeah, I mean, in one line, right? If what I an interviewer's product manager is this. Is the person I'm interviewing has a lot of interview. And what does it translates to? First principles thinking, again, this is a term that's thrown around a lot. It's basically this. Given a problem, are you able to distill it down to the most fundamental questions out there and get those answers and then layer up to form the best solution? Right? Are you not, I mean, are you taking the most fundamental assumptions possible and getting to the solution? That's first principles thinking. Take ownership and get things done. Especially in the early stage careers, product managers have a lot of responsibility and very easy to just skip from one task to other task to other task without actually finishing the tasks you have in hand. So it's about how well you're able to take ownership of your task and drive it without follow-ups. Okay. Then, like I said, understanding the basics of PM and tech. That's what I try to look for in an interview. And can they get their way around data? Are you able to ask me the right questions? Say, where exactly in the funnel is the user dropping off? Which is the biggest problem that is to solve for us here? And what is the data saying? Are you able to look? I mean, just go beyond some metrics and exactly pinpoint what is it that we need to improve to drive particular metric. Right? And then, of course, very important, especially at an early stage, are you willing to learn? I'm okay if you are not 100% in all the skills, but the willingness to learn, that's something you have to display in your interviews and cases that you will have to solve. Again, we might get there as to how exactly to show it. And the last but not the least is, are you a people person? Because like you saw before, you are not really the one doing things. You are not creating those marketing campaigns to attract users. You are not coding and actually building the app. You are someone who is stitching the team around and driving them towards a common task. So if you are not a people person or good at getting things done from people who are not directly reporting to you, then it's a red flag. So this is what interviewers really look for when they're hiring product managers. Now, yeah, I mean, what does it translate to? I talked about abstract level things. Now, if I try to translate to in terms of skills to learn, what exactly are they? First is about user personas and users. Basically, understanding whatever app you are you a B2B business or a B2C business? Are you able to look at and point out who exactly is your user? What are their pain points? What are their needs? What do they do? Why are they even using your application or website, whatever that you're offering? Right? So how well are you able to get to that is the user persona bit. Prioritization. As a product manager, I think this is the single most important thing for you in the early stages of your career. You are swarmed with tons of requests from every single team out there. How are you objectively prioritizing one task over other? Just an example, right? I mean, you have your existing customers who are facing certain problem, and you have your sales teams who are not able to close the deal because of certain thing not there in your app, and they're asking you to build it. How are you able to navigate through this and prioritize one over another? It's a complex skill to have, but definitely very important to learn frameworks around it. Then go to market strategies. No product without a market is going to be amazing. So no matter what you're building, you need to figure out how are you able to take it to your users. So again, there are certain ways to do that. So go to market strategies is one. And discovering user needs. See, in the first point I talked about defining your user. Once you do that, how are you discovering what they need? Are you able to do user interviews? There are frameworks such as jobs to be done, surveys, even as simple as surveys, right? A lot of people do it wrong. So how do you do that? Then product metrics. Metrics are stuff like, say, acquisition metrics such as cost to acquire a customer, or engagement metrics, that is number of minutes a user spent on an application, and revenue metrics, average revenue per user, stuff like that. There are a bunch of metrics around, and there are frameworks around it. Then tech. I mentioned you need to know certain tech. Now, what is it really? Understanding APIs. A lot of things today depend on APIs. What is the agile development process? How do engineers really get things done? What is a sprint? System design, right? I mean, if I talk about Instagram, can you at a high level tell me what Instagram consists of? What is the front end like? What is the back end like? What is a database they are using? Very high level. I mean, how are they using cloud services like, say, Amazon Web Services, AWS, right? So that's what I'm looking for in tech. Working with data. Again, a product manager at a lot of times work with certain assumptions and hypotheses. Now, given the data, are you able to run your own queries and get what you want, right? And are you able to visualize it in Tableau for other stakeholders out there and get relevant permissions? Running experiments. A lot of times, these are usually towards the end of product launch, usually, which is okay, which color is better? Are users responding better to yellow color or gray color, for example, right? And should I send a message with an image or without an image? So A/B testing is now very crucial part of making these smaller but very important decisions. And are they able to dive deeper and understand user psychology, user biases? Are you as a product manager able to tell what user himself or herself is not telling you just by understanding the way they're behaving? So these are very important. In fact, Masters Union, through their vast set of courses, helps you gain a lot of these skills in practice. And that's what happened to me in the PGP, right? So till here, any specific questions? We covered like maybe a good part of what we want to talk about. I'm seeing the questions. Again, Surya is asking me, please break down point 1. I'm not very sure which slide it is about. Sorry, I'm just checking it. And is it possible to get into Prodman? For me, I am B.Tech with electronics, PGD in MLAI, going to pursue MBA, 2 years of experience in automation and 1 year data science. Again, from a profile wise, it's looking good. I think maybe you need practice, you need proof of work. I'll talk about what proof of work is later. So Prajwal, wait for it. Sachin, can you please elaborate on first principles thinking? Okay, so think of it this way, right? I mean, I'll go back to simple, basic math. Okay, so formulas such as, say, a plus b whole square equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. Okay, I mean, I'm just saying. And then there are complex formulas that are maybe derived on top of that, which is, say, a cube minus b cube equal to something, some formula. So are you just able to work based on based on derived formulas, or are you able to get to the root, get to the core of the derivation and build from there? That's what is first principles thinking, is how well you're able to break down things into pieces and create simple solutions for every individual problem, and then merge it back to look at the broader picture. Okay, so that's what it is. Work experience needed, prerequisites. Okay, I'm getting a lot of these kind of questions. I'll say hold it for some time. Let's look at other parts of the presentation and come back here. All right, let's go through this, and then building the product mindset. I think at early stages, it's very important for us to understand what a product mindset really is. And then I usually tell this to candidates I speak to, how to build. First, observe and listen. Every one of you're using at least 100 products, at least. Right? And your parents are using it, your friends are using it. Just observe how they're behaving. For example, say when Instagram launched Reels, a lot of people, you realize that they removed messages and they moved it to the top, and then they kept Reels somewhere at very important place for Instagram. Why did they do that? Probably to drive adoption. I mean, if you want to message someone, you say kind of your psychology kind of tells you to click here, and then instead of messages, say reels are opening. It's probably not an intuitive user behavior, but they went for that because they thought reels are the next big thing, and that's the strategic positioning out there. Again, like, look at everything that's happening around you. Look at how users are using products, what products are getting addicted, what products people are not able to use, finding it complex, giving those 1-star ratings, etc. And look at why they are doing it. What are they really complaining? So just observing that gives you a lot of insight on how certain products are built and how good products are built. Okay, again, see, these are certain questions you can ask. Whatever app you're using, what is the problem that they're solving? Why are they doing things the way they are doing it? It's about, say, I mean, look at cred. I think it's one of the favorite products for a lot of people. If you own a credit card, you probably would have used cred at some point of time. Or say WhatsApp, as simple as that. Look at its journey from how it started as a simplistic messaging app to, say, now it has stories, now it has WhatsApp for business, now it has say WhatsApp payments. Just keep asking why. Keep asking why WhatsApp launched payments. What is the value it is adding for me as a user and for WhatsApp as a business? And why is it placed where it is placed? So these are certain questions. I mean, you keep asking, you answer it yourself, you ask, say, users around you, what do you think? And that's how you slowly build why things are built. And from there, if you deconstruct, you'll realize what is the value the app is trying to provide you. Again, participate in different product competitions. I think Masters Union is holding one of them very soon. Maybe they'll talk about it towards the end of the webinar. Maybe make a team. Always, when you are working, you probably have one frame of thinking and someone in your team has a different frame of thinking. And the better you discuss, the better your clarity becomes around, okay, what probably is the reason, what probably is not. Discuss the problems. Use new products. I obsessively check what are the new products in the market, what is being funded right now, and why they're attracting this funding. And there's something called product hunt, where hundreds of products are launched every single day, right? And I subscribe to their email. Every day I get an email of 10 best products of that day. So I at least look at one or two products that attract me. I sign up, I use it, and then I go back. And some of the top products that I really like, I probably keep getting back to them to see how they're evolving, right? So it's curiosity, right? I mean, if you're curious about how products are built, you will probably be a better product manager, because you have that never-ending curiosity to make your product better and keep delivering value to your customers. Again, very important thing. A lot of times, if you keep your ideas in head, they're lost somewhere. Write it in a doc, come back to it. Maybe prepare a deck. Like, if you want to solve particular problem that you are facing or someone else is facing, best way is write it in a doc, maybe add solutions to it, prepare a deck, dive deep. Don't leave things at a surface level. Yeah, I mean, this is something I believe in. You learn something from every feature of every product. It's either inspiring you to do better, or it's telling you what not to do as a PM. For example, a very recent thing that I observed is there's an app called Bubble. It helps you build new websites, okay, web apps and websites. They recently changed their pricing structure, and they mailed everyone. Basically, it's unreasonable in a way, right? And there's a lot of backlash around it. That's one mistake they kind of did without, asking a lot of people. They kind of launched this pricing, and of course, it welcomed a lot of backlash. Within a day, they kind of analyzed it, figured out what's wrong, and then they reverted the pricing, and now they're working on a new pricing structure. So now there is something that I learned about how to handle something as a product manager, say when there's a lot of backlash, and how not to do something, which is basically coming up with a new pricing structure without doing enough analysis. That just happened like last week. Okay, like that, everything you see, every product related news you read helps you become a better product manager and helps you build a product mindset. Okay. Yeah, and then not so covered or talked about topic. I know networking itself is very broad. I'll talk about it in a context of product management here. So why it's important to build a PM network? First, get deeper insights from PMs. Say people like me, for example, post about some things we learn about products or some things that that we're observing that helped us learn something about product management, right? So you get deeper insights. You learn about what kind of problems people are facing and how they're solving it. You find mentors and peers to help you grow professionally. Of course, without saying, networking improves your job prospects and helps you understand the tools and trends of the industry. For example, I think about uh, I'd say before I joined Masters Union, let's say 1 month before that or so, the number of product managers in my LinkedIn network would be somewhere around 100. And right now, the number of product managers who are in my LinkedIn network is somewhere around 1500. It's about 15x growth, and it just compounds the things you learn. Okay, I'm just talking about one app, right? And then there's Medium, there is all sorts of things out there. So that's one. And how to do it, very important. Product communities. So there's something called the product folks that I follow. They have good content in YouTube and website about how to get started into product management, some good product case studies. They have product competitions. They have a Slack community which is vibrant, and you kind of learn a lot from there. Then in an international level, there's something called product school. They organize product conferences every quarter, I think, which is online. Again, you have VP and SVPs of companies from Google, Netflix, etc., coming and talking about how they build their product strategies, some frameworks, etc. Product Buds is a student centric, but from a US kind of a setting. So you kind of learn different things from these communities. At least I learned a lot. Then LinkedIn, like I said, connect with PMs, follow them, read the articles they are publishing. Lunch Club or Coffee Mug is a one-to-one meeting kind of application where, for example, I use Lunch Club a lot. I meet some PMs there. So every week you're matched with 2 to 3 people whom you meet one-on-one for like 45 minutes. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet people out there and ask them questions. Say, what do you do? What kind of problems you solve? What kind of tools do you use, etc. And product summits and conferences. Masters Union also organizes product summits, and we have Inc 42, which is organizing something called a Maker Summit next month. So keep looking out. Again, the more you build this network, the more you get to know about these summits and conferences, and the more you participate. So there's a compounding value addition in networking, and there's nothing, especially here, there's nothing in terms of cost, right? You're just spending your time and you're learning and growing. So yeah, and I'll talk about proof of work. I think a lot of questions you're asking, right? Can I do it? Can I become a product manager given certain backgrounds? I want to talk about how proof of work really helps there. These days, gone are the days where you are sending resumes, they're getting screened, and you are being called for interviews, etc. At least in Masters Union, I kind of saw this power, how you build something. I'll talk about how. And there's a great example, right? Just Google maybe Avkash Shah. He's someone who is a design intern who built a great design concept for Cred. He tagged Kunal Shah and Cred, and they commented, they gave him an internship. So that's how today's market is evolving, and maybe adopt to that. One reason why this is not very popular out there is because it's hard. It's hard for someone to spend that amount of time in this. So yeah, spend that amount of time and then you will get there. So this is a template that I've seen help some people around, which is how to gain experience without the job. There's a standard chicken egg problem, right? Companies want experience, and for you to get experience, you need a job. So how do you solve this problem? First, pick 3 to 5 companies that you love or you want to work with. Then try to assume a problem statement for that company. There are some examples, right? How do you create better user experience? How do you improve user engagement time, or say retention metrics, which is how do you make users come back to the application week on week? How do you add value to certain products? You keep hearing stories like, say, Netflix is entering into games. Should it enter? Should it not enter? Maybe build a deck around it. Work on that statement. Right. So create a differentiation from competitors. Say, how do you help, say, Telegram differentiate from something like a WhatsApp? I don't know. I'm just stating certain problem statements out there. Create a problem statement for yourself. Work on it for a month, which basically is talk to the users, talk to people who are building this, who are using this, identify the pain points, try to come up with solutions, figure out how whatever you're proposing is helping the company and the user. Build a PPT. There are no code websites or apps these days, which can help you build something great visually in maybe a week, right? So do that. Get feedback from, say, your friends and mentors. Improve a solution, post it on LinkedIn or email it to product folks in that company. And at least that will open a door for you for an interview. Even if it doesn't do that, you are way better at, say, how to be a PM after doing this exercise than before. And that's how you build your product portfolio, right? Repeat it for a few products and trust me, you will get there. So yeah, that's one way to build a proof of work. And that also kind of tells you, are you enjoying this experience? Is product management really right for you? If you do that, if you love it, then probably it is right for you, right? So how to prepare for interviews? So see, again, what I said before kind of helps you get to interviews. Okay, so this proof of work and maybe upskilling, gaining those skills. Then how exactly to prepare for interviews is first and foremost very important. I mean, it's so simple for me, and I still kind of find it hard that why so many people don't do this. If you apply for a certain company, go to websites like, say, Glassdoor or Ambition Box, or I mean, for at least coding kind of things, there were Geeks for Geeks, but these are primarily two things that you can see. Understand what their interview process is like. Maybe ask the HR, what is your interview process like? Figure out what types of questions are asked. Design questions, root cause analysis questions, metrics questions, go to market, pricing, product strategy, product improvement, favorite product. These are broadly 8 to 9 categories of questions in product interviews. Give maybe 10 or more mock interviews. I mean, even today, if I'm interviewing for a new role, I try to, say, give a mock interview with a friend or someone maybe in that company that I know, etc. And for at least 1 or 2 types of questions that I find it hard, and maybe brush up my interviewing skills. Use those interviews. And then don't ignore behavioral questions. So what are behavioral questions? It's like, tell me about yourself. Tell me an instance when you exhibited leadership. Tell me an instance you were in a project where you and your coworker don't like each other or didn't get along, and how did it go forward, right? There are these kind of questions which, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's a people stakeholder skills. It's very important for product management, and a lot of people ignore that. So don't ignore that. These are some tips again for product management interviews. Then there are useful tools like Stellar Peers is one mock interview tool that you can go and interview. The Try Exponent and product folks have some awesome videos and resources there. Then there's a book called the PM Interview Book by Lewis Lin, and his other book is called Decode and Conquer. Both are brilliant for product management interview preparations. Yeah, I think I kind of covered a lot of ground in, say, brief time about, say, about the role, about what interviewers look for, about how do you network, what kind of skills to gain, how do you show proof of work, and how to crack interviews. Of course, given the brevity of the session, we didn't dive deep in any of these elements, and would be happy to take any specific questions you have in the chat. So I see Saro's answering some of the questions. Yeah, thank you for that, Sharos.
Sure.
Any kind of certifications. See, thing is, product management is relatively so new that any certification is not straight away getting you a job. So it's more on the users for you to go through what different kinds of certifications are out there. Look at the curriculum, look at what they're trying to offer you, and again, get back to this, right? Now, these are the skills you need to learn. Are these certifications teaching you these skills? Again, at the end of the day, you want to take this for an interview, and there's no single certification out there that gives you a direct job. So try to analyze for yourself, or maybe ask some PMs out there, is this course right fit for me? Right, again, do that evaluation for yourself too. So that's how I would evaluate this. Whatever certifications are there, are they teaching me these skills and help me move forward in my product management interview prep? Can we get into product manager role by doing masters in management information systems? Again, very specific question. I mean, it's hard to give such answers in a public session. Maybe you can connect one-on-one, or so I'll again, the answer is this. Is this masters teaching you these skills? Any other questions? I'm giving interviews for product, done with 2 rounds and an assignment. What to expect in technical round? Again, what you see here, right, in tech. Are you comfortable with system design? Just Google system design interviews, APIs, agile development. Yeah, that should be good for you. How to find problem statements? So it's here, right? I mean, I even gave sample problem statements for you. So see, okay, you are using Zoom as an application right now. In your 1 hour of webinar, did you face any problems? What do you think can be improved here? Right? That itself is a problem statement. So yeah, I mean, there are questions pouring in. Great to see all of you engaged. UI UX related understanding to what extent? See, okay, in my experience, given first you have a problem statement, then you kind of create a solution, which is just verbal. You know what should be there where. Then you should be able to convert into basic wireframe. Maybe use Figma, use InVision. There are a lot of tools out there. Create a basic wireframe to just make sure the same thoughts you have in your mind are on the screen, and then take it to a designer. They can design it for you. That is first skill. Second, once a UI UX designer designs something, you should be able to comment on that okay, this seems nice, this isn't good, this is not wide enough, this is not big enough for the user to actually get noticed, this is not standing out for me, stuff like that. So how to improve influencing skills? Again, there are some things that you can't just read. There are some things you practice. Now, how do you practice? It's hard to answer these questions, right? I mean, so for example, Masters Union, we had places where we were working on assignments, and there are conflicts. So you need to influence your peer to go in certain direction. That itself is a skill, right? So it kind of comes with practice. You may want to put yourself in those situations where you have to influence others in your daily life. I mean, it's as simple as, are you able to influence your say parents to give you permission to do certain things? Just saying. Best Indian product company according to me, again, it's there's no such best company out there, right? There are some really great product companies with good product cultures. Again, it's also slightly different from, is it a business to consumer B2C or business to business company? So yeah, I mean, Indian product company, I'm just thinking. I mean, Cred is something I really like as a product. Swiggy is something I really like as a product. So yeah, you have two great companies that I'm talking about. Which books to read for PM? I kind of gave 3 books that are specifically for interviews. So like I said, the PM interview book, Decode and Conquer. Again, if you want to talk about products like Facebook, Instagram, what makes it great, there's a good book called Hooked. Then there's a book called Inspired. That's by Marty Kagan. That's also a good book. Yeah, I think Rajan, I answered your question on prior experience by proof of work. There is no better way around it. Which one to go for, Tableau or Power BI or Quick View? Very, very subjective. Again, Tableau and Power BI are much widely used. You can pick anything. These are softwares, right? I mean, if you learn one tool, other tools are easier. So don't worry. Okay, so I'm looking at questions from Varad. can you explain about user psychology? Like being a product intern currently, I do activities and derive insight from user, looking up from mixed panel journeys, etc. Does this come in user psychology? The answer is no. So again, just for everyone's understanding, mixed panels is one of the software tools that help you understand what users are doing in your software at particular places. But it might help you understand to an extent. But see, mixed panel tells you, okay, my users came till homepage, they clicked on a book now button, but they didn't go forward. But it doesn't tell you why they didn't go forward. So for you to learn that, you might want to actually interview users. You want to look at users when they're performing the action, right? That will help you take these decisions. So yeah, I mean, so for example, when I'm looking at my parents, I use certain things, right? Certain very basic things. I'm just recalling some instances, right? So anything red in general, anything red that kind of pops out there, they find it hard to press it. They're like, is it dangerous? I mean, does it crash something, etc. I was kind of like, you need to press that to close it and then do something else, you know. So it's something new that I learned. Maybe the best thing, actually see your parents use apps. You learn a lot from that. Glad it helped you, Harsha.
Okay, Pushpak, so I think you mentioned a very interesting thing there when we look at our parents using apps, so that is definitely where a product manager, it's an area where he can actually learn and improve on the product, right? But see, honestly, there's a lot of students who actually are concerned about the placement part. They're confused whether coming from a different background or coming from a B.Tech or, whether a technical background is required, whether program is necessary, right? So if it's okay with you, I'd like you to share your experience, when it came to the placements part with Masters Union, or if any additional suggestions you can give them, or how many interviews it took you to actually be able to crack the role, or what effort was involved, right? So maybe if you can share a little on that as well.
Sure. So for me, so first thing, I'm someone who is thorough in doing my research. So whatever company I interviewed with, I kind of internship and final placement, again, these are kind of same thing. Okay, so let me talk about final placements first, and then I'll talk about at least what internship strategy was for me. Okay, so final placement, I knew more or less what are the kind of companies I wanted to get in, and I was looking at how they screen, right? I kind of asked my friends in those companies about what is the process you went through, what kind of questions are asked, how many rounds, what is good to answer and what is not good to answer. So I kind of do that research, and I think at Masters Union, I kind of gave 2 product interviews for final rounds, some of the first 2 companies that came in, and thankfully I cleared both. And then I had better options. Like, I mean, I had an option to take one or the other, and I finally took one job. So that way, I really think the research I had done beforehand and being very prepared with the kind of questions that are asked, and of course, Masters Union did help me in the preparation, right? With starting things from mock interviews to helping me build my resume uh, to actually helping me build my own framework around how to answer a question. For example, one of the most common questions is product design. Say, design a bathroom for a blind, you know, these kind of questions where it's very hard to answer these questions, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are different frameworks that help you answer these, and you learn it. Again, with mock interviews, you kind of improve it. You first learn some frameworks, you apply it in your mock interviews, then you improvise on it. Okay. So internships, it's again the same thing for me. When I was looking at internship, it is this: is it a company I want to spend, let's say, my final placement also? That is when I really thought internship would add value for me. Otherwise, I was really interested in Masters Union's startup program, right? So that's why I was not very 100% keen on should I take a product internship or not. So my answer was this: if it is a company and a role that I would like to take in long term, then I prepared for it. Again, same process, same questions. There's nothing different in preparation. The choice is just this. For me, if I want to take an internship, it's this: I wanted to continue as a PPO or placement and then take it forward, right? So that's for me. Now let's say PM took a decision and pushed for a feature which went haywire. How should we gain back the trust of his team and engineers? What are the next steps usually? Very good question, Harshit. It's see, it's one thing to push for something and get it done. It's another thing to actually say, okay, this was my assumption and hypothesis, and yeah, I got my validation. It didn't work. I think I made a mistake here. Again, I'm learning something from it, and thank you all for say like thank the stakeholders for maybe trusting you and giving you the chance to actually go ahead with this. Now ask your managers again what you think should be done forward. Ask everyone around what should be done, and then course correct your way forward, right? Should you entirely roll back something, or should you improvise on it? First step is to accept that yeah, something went wrong, and maybe do some root cause analysis around it. If you are at fault, humbly admit it. Again, being honest and being straightforward is the best way to gain back the trust. Don't expect to say release brilliant amazing features that always work. Out of 10 features you release, probably 2 to 3 are failures, utter failures. Maybe 3 to 4 are mediocre successes, and probably 1 or 2 are brilliant successes. So the better you are able to make the say brilliant success ratio, the better you kind of move forward in as a product management career. How to select higher impact problem statement for proof of work? What type of points should one keep in mind? Very good question. Again, the kind of answer is, you know, it's this. Look at what the company is struggling with. If it's an app, go to Play Store and spend at least 2-3 hours looking at what are the reviews people are facing. Maybe talk to 2 to 3 users. As kind of reading a post about someone who actually became a rider on Rapido, not rider, sorry, driver on Rapido, and then he talked to about 10 different. He actually took 10 rides. Rapido is a bike sharing platform where there's a rider who kind of takes passengers and then drops them to where they want. Think of an Uber in a bike format. So he actually became a rider just to interview users and then understand pain points and then solve for that. So that explains you what kind of work goes in even problem statement selection, right? So yeah, that's a great way. And again, there's no such thing as a bad problem to solve. It's about, is it the right problem to solve this time? What is the difference between product and project manager? Can a product manager work as project manager right away and vice versa? It's slightly different. Just for the sake of time, I'll put it simple. Product manager takes a problem, works with different stakeholders, comes up with solution. Whereas project manager takes that solution, works with all the relevant stakeholders to get it out as fast as possible in as great way as possible, which is the quality. Like the time is the speed part of it, the quality part of it, and then the resources part of it in as minimum cost as possible. That's what a project manager really does. Project manager usually doesn't have anything to do with solutioning. That is solely product manager's role. Can you do vice versa? Of course. I mean, if you think you are someone who can do that speed, resources, and quality, you want to manage that more, of course, go ahead and do that. Or if you are someone who loves working with problems and creating solutions, you become a product manager. It's possible to do vice versa. Okay. Any last questions? We are kind of reaching end of the session.
Yes, guys, please feel free to share. Otherwise, also, if in case your questions aren't answered, I'm also going to drop the email ID for Masters Union, wherein in case there's anything, you guys can reach out to us. Also, I'm dropping the link for the program page as well. So in case anybody wants to explore the program that Masters Union is offering for product management, you can share, you can visit the link.
Great, Sharosh. And see, I think, Sharosh, if I'm not wrong, there's a product management competition that kind of coming
Yes,
up, right? So
correct.
maybe you want to
Yes.
share for that. So that's a great way to show proof of work, people. I mean, if you kind of participate in competitions like this and say win or learn something on the way, I think you are making your first step right there.
Yes. So, guys, the challenge also, I think a lot of you must have received the email for it. But yes, for whosoever is participating in that challenge, you have an opportunity to actually present your work, your product as well. And you can actually also win rewards. I think it's up to 30 lakh rupees also, for anyone who's participating and who wins that competition. So, I think definitely a good way for you guys to, get started on your journey for a product manager. Okay, so I've shared the link for the program page. I'm also just sharing the email ID where, in case you have any specific questions, if you want our team to evaluate your profile and see, whether product management is something that you can take up as a career, then we'd be happy to help you with that. So just feel free to write to us, and the email ID I've just dropped it on the chat. Okay, Rajan, so if you're interested in a PM role, you should definitely explore the course offered by Masters Union as well. Okay, Himanshu has a question, Pushpak.
I think good question to probably take as a last question. So B2B product management, I spent a lot of time in B2B product management. The difference is this. B2B product management, it's relatively easy to find problem statements because you have paying customers who are businesses, and you kind of get real-time feedback from them, and in real time what else they want you to build. Okay, so it's relatively easy to get that from them. Whereas B2C, something like say Swiggy, it's not that straightforward for a Swiggy product manager to figure out what to build next, right? So that's one. And also the varied profiles of I mean, of course there are complexities in both. Relatively, B2B, you have direct customers to test. I mean, you're building something, you have direct people to talk to, ask them what they think, actually co-build the product with them, where say, for example, you take one customer as your beta customer, they are going to actually use it first, and ask them and take a lot of feedback, keep giving solutions to them and build it so better, and then launch it. Of course, B2C also there are things like beta testing, etc., but it's slightly more challenging to kind of find those users, test it. And so B2C, it's very much metric driven. I mean, you need to be razor focused on your metrics, because that is what is telling you the story. No single user is telling you the story. Say for Swiggy, if one person goes and tells, I really like this product, that it's probably not gonna make a lot of difference. They're not building for that one. Whereas in B2B, if you have a customer paying you $1 million, then you might actually want to build that specific feature just for that customer, and also hope that later it will be useful to some other customers as well, right? It's in B2C, it's not that easy. Any different skills to learn? Not so much really. At the end of the day, it's you are solving problems for users, for businesses, and you're doing it at scale, right? So no specific skills. It's just that how you grow in those two careers are different. What you are focusing in these two roles are different, but different as in just the magnitude will change. Like say if you're doing 80% of something in one role, 20% in another, you might do 50-50 in one, right? So but skills are the same, just their implementation is slightly different.
And I think especially in B2C for a country like in India, right? I'm sure the diversity is itself
Yeah,
is
yeah.
so I'm sure there are a lot of personas you have to create, imagine situations for people and then accordingly build upon it.
Totally.
Okay, so I think in terms of the questions we have, I think pretty much covered them all. If I think that's about it, guys, then we can also end the session for today. Right, Pushpak, anything you'd want to add? Okay, now we have one more question.
I think I kind of answered it. Yeah, prep is different, but I think I answered the first part of things. Uh, Prep, I talked about product manager prep, and I think project management, it's way older career as such. And there are defined things like PMP certification, for example, etc. Agile development processes, etc. These are the things you should look out and learn for if you want interested in project management, for example. Right. So yeah, maybe you can continue, Sharos. That's about it.
Yes, guys. So I think that's about it for today. But definitely, if we will also be keeping you updated for any other session that we do conduct in the future. And in the meanwhile, I think I would like to thank Pushpak also for sharing his experience. And, I think with Masters Union also you have a good idea of what we, how we nurture students in terms of the mentorship or even in terms of the placement support that we provide, right? So I guess we must have answered most of the questions for today. But yes, in case anybody has any further queries, I would recommend that you should either write to us, or if you have a number which is available on our website, you can definitely reach out to us and one of our teams will connect with you and help you out. So I think that's about it for now. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining.